Joining us right now is Dr. Didar Singh, Secretary General of FICCI. Mr. Singh, thank you so much for joining us. FICCI is a large organization with a big history and a lot on your plate. I mean, this is a big title. How do you do everything that you guys do?
That's a good question. First of all, we've been doing it for the last 88 years. 1927 is when we got set up. So it's a large organization. It's a federation and a chamber together. So we represent something like about 250,000 Indian companies. You know, that's pretty large, not just by Indian standards, by global standards. So it's a big one. And we work in something like about, last count, it was 76 sectors. I didn't even know there were that many in the Indian economy. You didn't. Well, there are that many apparently.
Nobody did.
So anything which has a business angle, we are there. And that's why we've decided to, tie up with TIE and have been coming to Tiecon for the last 3 years. The whole idea is that there is so much happening in the Indian economy. IT, of course, is one big peg, but so many other areas, defense and agriculture and manufacturing, and this whole program of Make in India and everything makes it imperative that we begin to touch at different points around the world, and including the sort of tech capital of the world, which is right here. So we are here to link up with that and to provide like a window to India, because we represent so many companies in so many sectors, and we feel that by bringing some of our own entrepreneurs here, which we do every year. This year we brought about 50 of them. We brought the same last year. They get a chance to, first of all, understand what's happening around the world, but more so to link up their ideas with the possibility of connecting and partnerships with this here. So it's a joint thing, and I think it works pretty good.
And I know FICCI has also worked with the U.S.-India Business Council in the past, which is a chamber that's focused on the bilateral trade relations between the U.S. and India. Now, how does FICCI see this relationship growing, especially with the changing dynamic? Right now we have the presidential elections here in the U.S. upon us. How do you see that shifting, if at all, the relationship between U.S. and India trade?
Okay, just for the record, FICCI established U.S.-India Business Council.
Well, that's good to know.
1987 is when we made this arrangement with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that we would have a special India Connect, and that's how U.S.-IBC came up. The whole idea was that you have, this is a strategic partnership, and this is a partnership at all levels, minds, hearts, people, the whole works. So how do we make sure that the business end of it is very strong, and it shouldn't matter who is elected or who's not? And I think that's what's really been the strength of the US-India relationship, especially the business relationship. It doesn't matter which party is in power, because the establishment and the connectivity between businesses have been phenomenal. And of course, this relationship has really grown in the last few years. And where does FICCI fit into it? Oh my God, we are working there with science and technology, in agriculture, in education, in media entertainment. I mean, you name it. We have special committees and special link-ups at different parts of businesses here. And we bring delegations every year. We even bring a delegation of parliamentarians. FICCI runs a forum of parliamentarians, US-India Forum of Parliamentarians, and this is bringing parliamentarians here and meeting up with parliamentarians, the CODEL, when it comes to India. So it's lots of these things has been going on for about 20 years. It's strong, it's growing, and we see a massive potential here. Yeah, sure.
It's interesting you say that, Gurcharan Das actually just talked about this in his last book, how India actually grows despite its government. It seems to be very true for FICCI, irrespective of the government and despite the government changes. FICCI seems to be thriving. Is this because there is a severe focus on pro-trade and pro-business, or is this because there's just a lot of innovation happening within FICCI? What do you credit it to?
I think the answer is both. First of all, pro-trade, pro-business. What is it? We are democracies. And democracies means it's a market economy. And market economy has to function on its own time frame, on its own potential, on its own engines of growth within it. And yes, government is one very important component of it in any country. But business must grow irrespective of what the government is, because government wants growth, so does business. So the policies obviously link up. The same thing for the US, the same thing for Europe, the same thing for India. In terms of your second addressing of looking at specific areas and looking at how policies change and different sectors that come into play, that's all market dynamics. Market dynamics, of which, as I'm just mentioning, government is one very important part of that market dynamic, but it's also global situations. And globally, the world is changing. And globally, you're beginning to see, first of all, a more Eastern focus. And so the US and India relationship, both at the geopolitical level and at the market level, is growing at a certainly different trajectory than it was before. And it's something which is important for business. So we as FICCI need to be very much in it, need to be there in terms of, whether it's innovation at one end or whether it's old businesses of, textiles and agriculture, whatever, it all has to grow together.
So what do you credit this shift in trajectory to? Is it a change in government in India, or is it something else?
It's both. It's both. Change in government, yes, but remember, there have been change in government before. There have been change in government in the US. And yet we've had, Republican governments supporting us so much and Democrats just adding to it. So I believe it's really the fact that these are two market economies and two people that have a natural affinity towards each other. And right here, Silicon Valley and Tiecon represents that. This is the coming together of this, the fact of, diaspora in a different environment and yet being the bridge to connect with India. So these are very, these are great connections, great partnerships, great connect, I think, that we all have with each other.
Now, we've talked to a lot of companies that are moving into, or expanding into India, and some of the challenges always has been corruption or policy or regulation or, other smaller challenges. How does FICCI help, alleviate some of those concerns?
All economies have concerns, all economies have issues, and we as a market-oriented organization and being something that is representative of what government wants and what business needs, so which is growth. It's a common agenda. So FICCI is constantly working on different areas, doing policy research, taking out suggestions, recommendations which build into the changing legal environment, which build into policy, which build into strategy of government. So it's a constant thing. We've been doing it for 88 years. It's nothing new, but that's part of our job. And the second part of it, which I think is even more important, FICCI as an organization is actually into development space. We actually work on projects for bottom of the pyramid. We work on innovation, of social innovation for the bottom of the pyramid. Work meaning we help entrepreneurs, we help technologies come together to do work at those levels. So this brings credibility, and it brings business organizations into development space, which is extremely important for the inclusive growth agenda of government, so it kind of matches.
Now, last question for you. I'd like to know from you, what do you see as the new frontiers for FICCI moving forward? What can we expect to see over the next 88 years?
I think you will see, we see that the whole world changing in terms of technologies, in terms of the disruptions that are happening, whether it's services, agriculture, manufacturing, whatever. In fact, they're all merging, it's all converging together. And we as a business organization have to make sure that in all those areas, we are ahead of the curve. So we do continue to do our strong research, we continue to have conferences, workshops, make sure that industry is aligned to it, learning from it, going ahead on it, and make sure that we are there to support governments and the agenda of inclusive growth. And we will be there next 88 years. And
hopefully you would. Thank you so much. That was Dr. Didar Singh, the General Secretary of FICCI. Thank you so much.